Welcome, everybody, to Beyond the Shadows. I'm author and ghost historian Mike Ricksecker. Our show tonight is epic road trips, epic haunted road trips. And I just saw down there in the chat, Victoria Monday, so is there a playlist for this road trip? Well, there are a couple of different playlists on the Haunted Road Media YouTube channel. One is a playlist of haunted road trips, actually. I should link that in here somewhere. Yeah, it is a thing. So we used to do the show Paranormal Roads on the Haunted Road Media channel. I don't know why I got away from that. The last couple of years kind of went away from the whole Paranormal Roads series, and kind of want to get back into it, really. Those always did really well, and we had some pretty epic trips over the years. What I wanted to do when I start all of this off, I'm going all the way back to like the beginning. I guess not the beginning, but at least the beginning of when I started doing all the YouTube stuff. I'm actually going to start it with a clip from the very first Ghosts and Legends episode, which was the first video that was uploaded to it was the old Mike Ricksecker channel and the old Society of the Haunted channel. So we're talking like 9 years ago when this thing was put out there. So it's great to see everybody down in the chat. We had a fantastic time with Freddie Silva on Edge of the Rabbit Hole. He is always just such a wealth of knowledge, and we're happy to have him back to talk about lost civilizations, missing lands, all the different ancient cultures, and how they really are all connected. But before we get into everything, I want to let you know that this episode of Beyond the Shadows is brought to you by a Haunted Road Roast. Helps you hunt ghosts. All right. So, and there's Sharon Lane. I found you because of the road trip to the Stone Lion Inn. I remember you saying that, Sharon. Yeah, you caught the Stone Lion Inn video, which was, what was that, like number 6 or 7 on the Ghosts and Legends list? I can't remember. It was one of those. It was a Ghosts and Legends episode, yeah. So I'm going to start this off. There's going to be like different clips, photos. I'll tell stories. You guys throw in all kinds of questions down there. This is going to be like a very loose formatted show tonight. For those listening to the podcast later, I just want to apologize because some of these clips have music segments with no speech, and you see some of the video footage, which when you're listening back to the podcast on Spotify or what have you later, you're not going to see the clips. So I apologize for that, but most of the clips have speech. So we'll get into this. So, all right. So Quarantine Ghost says, what a cool shirt. Yeah, this is an oldie but goodie. I actually wore this for a couple of those old Ghosts and Legends episodes. I'm dating my wardrobe. That's not good. Okay. So this first clip is the old, like the original Society of the Haunted group. And it gives you an idea when we would go do residential cases, how some of our trips to go do these, we would end up like out in the middle of nowhere with some crazy directions and nutty stuff would happen. So let me go ahead and we'll start this up.
Road trips. Okay, tell me about a favorite or crazy investigation road trip.
Probably my favorite road trip is one to southeast Oklahoma.
The actual driving in the car would have to be going to Chaco.
And I was driving, and we were all in my Grand Prix, and we got lost. We got lost because I stopped for directions, and I literally got you go this way and turn that way as the crow flies. Literally, as the crow flies.
We saw a llama or an alpaca that was hairless or something, and he kind of looked like this creature from who knows where.
I think we saw some sort of ostrich-like things, some llamas. Somebody said they saw the Loch Ness Monster, but a large black dog.
We had birds dive bombing and dogs and all kinds of things.
The homeowner gave us directions, and they said, well, once you pass the divot in the roads.
It was when we were lost. And I contacted the homeowner, and I know you got video of me laughing. I was trying really hard to maintain, being serious on the phone with him, but he's telling me, oh, you're going to come to a divot. And yet we're about 2 hours away from his house. And there are many divots in the road on the way to his house. So which particular divot is he talking about? He didn't give me particular spot in the road where the divot was going to be for me to be aware that I'm now at the location where I need to turn.
Took us forever to get there.
Yeah, it really did take us forever to get there. It was absolutely insane, that trip. And it was, yeah, I mean, literally, you know, and you come to the divot in the road is like, wow. So the whole Loch Ness Monster thing was me. It looked like that. I think it was really like an alpaca or something that was in a little pond, but the way it was sticking up out of the water, it did look like, it looked like the Loch Ness Monster. Yeah, there were black dogs on the road. We were getting dive bombed by birds. It was the trip from hell. And it was just a residential case. We went down there. We were, I don't know, maybe it was only a couple hours that we could actually investigate because we had to make that trip all the way back. We found an alternate route. We were not taking that way, the same way back. And, you know, it's one of those long road trips that you tend to remember. They stand out in your mind. Maybe you stop someplace special, you know, to go eat, or on that one we hit some convenience store out in the middle of nowhere, and it was all the, you know, crazy off-brand stuff, and you had to wonder how long it had been sitting on the shelves, and it was just nuts, that trip. So did we find the divot? We found the divot in the road, yes. We did find the divot in the road. It was basically what it was, you know, you're coming down this small hill, and at the bottom of that was this other road that, you know, went to the left or whatever it was. And it's like, but it was just insane. And to this day, I couldn't even, I mean, I do remember what the house looked like, but I couldn't recall anything about that actual investigation. So it was in Chaco. I of course remember that, but I don't remember if we actually caught any evidence or anything like that on that investigation. So, yeah, that was one of those that was kind of crazy. So the next set, and this is going to be like a series of different clips, but with this one, okay, so we mentioned Loch Ness Monster, which was probably an alpaca. Or maybe it was a llama, who knows? The ostrich, the birds, the black dog, all that crazy stuff. This one, and I actually have video of it, was cows. So the Church of Darkness episode that was on My Ghost Story, a lot of you have heard me talk about Black Bear Church. And so that video was actually Ghosts and Legends of Oklahoma video number 4, episode number 4. Again, like around the same time frame, a few months later. I was doing those probably like one a month at the time. And so that was, I think that summer that we released that. Yeah, because it has footage from that May. So this piece, though, is from a different point in time. I was introducing somebody else to the location, like, I don't know, months later, because we were doing the stuff we were in the talks with My Ghost Story and all that stuff, and he had never been out to the location. So I took a guy named Ken out there who was part of the team at that point. So this is going to start up the other one because I didn't unclick it. So get off that. Okay, this is the cows.
This is what we get when we are investigating out in the middle of nowhere. We have the cows that are out in the middle of the road. Somebody let out. Look there. Look at him. Oh yeah, he's scurrying off. He doesn't want any part. Oh, okay. Yeah, let's go back out in the middle of the road.
Yeah. I don't want to hit a cow tonight.
No.
They do damage to your...
Yes, they do.
Fucking hey, move! Asshole! Get the fuck out of the way! Come on, move! Move!
Stay in front.
Moo cow! I don't want to dart through them because they'll fucking come in together and crush my car. This is a Mini Cooper. We can't be that.
Oh, that's pretty funny. Victoria Monday. Wait, you were out till the cows came home? Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, but cows were on their way home, apparently. Somebody let the cows out or whatever, and they were all over the road. When I talk about Black Bear Church, I know a number of you have heard me tell the story of the crawler. This is the church with the crawler, and I say it is out in the middle of nowhere down a couple of dirt roads. I am not kidding. That's the first dirt road. You come off the highway. That's the first dirt road, and we were down there a ways already, and there are these cows on either side, and as we're driving down, and Ken was trying to take it slow so that he didn't crash his car. He was just driving a Mini Cooper. He didn't want to crash his car into one of the cows, and of course they're crossing the road. It was ridiculous. But we did finally get to Black Bear Church, and so that was the photo that you saw right at the very end of it here. This is a daytime shot. This is not from that particular night. This was some months prior when we went out there to do some daytime footage. Actually, we were on the way to another investigation up in Cushing, Oklahoma. And we stopped off here because there were some others in the group that hadn't been there. And so we were introducing them to the location. We had never been there during the day. It's actually a very, very different feel in the day than it is at night. It does get very, very creepy there at night. Why did the cow cross the road? To stop the ghost hunters from going to Black Bear Church. That's why. So I'm gonna toss up a couple things here about Black Bear so that you can kind of get a daytime look of inside the church. It is such an old video. I mean, we're talking it's 9 years old now, that many people that are regulars now here probably have not seen some of this stuff. So to give you a bit of an idea, here we go. This is kind of me describing the light anomalies there.
Now, when we've taken photographs here, we've gotten some interesting illuminated balls of light that look self-illuminated. I picked up one. It's probably like right about up here. Kathy's picked up a few. Have gotten some.
All right, so yeah, that was just a quick clip. The next one that I'm going to throw up here is actually, I was just talking about it. Was it last week? I think it was last week because we did the paranormal TV shows last week. And at the same time that I was talking about it, Candy Orton made reference to the steps down the road that we heard like clear as a bell. Like somebody was actually walking down the road toward us. And then we ended up driving down there to see who it was because, we're waiting, and nobody's coming. So, all right, we'll get in the car and drive down there. And nobody was there. So here's that clip.
Now, directly across the street from the church is the Black Bear Cemetery, which was originally the Baldwin Cemetery, named after the family who moved here and donated the land over there for the cemetery, owned it as a farm. The first time I came here with Logan and Kathy, we were actually driving across from the church to here because there were coyotes out that night, and so we didn't want to have any trouble with that. So we actually drove the car across here, and when we were coming back out to get into the car, we heard footsteps coming from down the road headed this way. We thought one of the locals was coming down to check us out, see what was going on with the flashing lights and all that from our investigation. So we got in the car and drove all the way down because they were that loud. We thought somebody was truly walking our way, but we didn't find a soul.
We didn't find a soul. That was that was a nice little piece of improv there to go, oh, soul, hey, good term to use. Yeah, so that's the dirt road where we heard, the steps coming down, but there was nobody there. It's a very, very haunted location, and if you guys ever get a chance to go out there, I mean, it is literally out in the middle of nowhere, Olive Township. You would enjoy it. It's a nice abandoned location to kind of walk through. After we first did my ghost story, they were a little bit more vigilant about, people that were getting on there. I mean, obviously it was, completely desecrated by the teens and what have you, but I would imagine by now they've loosened up on that. It's been 9 years. Basically, I ticked them off with that video. They didn't understand some of the things that I said about the pedestal in the back and the ritual work, the occult work that looked like it had been done back there. They thought I was talking about the parishioners dabbling in the occult, and it was like, no. It's not what I meant. They were upset by that. That helps you meet cows. Yeah, Haunted Road Roast helps you meet cows. There you go. Brandon Wallace was talking about switching from coffee to scotch. I don't know if you guys caught it there at the end, but Freddie Silva during Edge of the Rabbit Hole tonight was drinking cognac. So he was loose for the show, which I mean, honestly, you couldn't tell throughout the show. He was, doing his thing. It was like, okay. Before the show, he was kind of silly with us, which was cool. And then he was kind of loosening up there toward the end. He is a funny guy. So, yes, you guys are definitely being silly down there tonight. So, and Tim showing us having a Pepsi Zero. All right. Nice, Victoria. Do you think slaughterhouses are haunted by cows? You never know. If you hear a phantom moo, it could be, right? It's not boo, it's moo. All right. So one final clip from Black Bear, and this is after the cows. So we got through the cows, turned down the street, turned down the dirt road that Black Bear is on, and it started to rain. Right when we got there, it starts to rain. But I wanted to show Ken the location that we were talking about, or some of our different experiences. So this is after the crawler incident. So in fact, that daytime stuff was before the crawler incident, and then taking Ken there at the night was after the crawler incident. So, so you're going to get a little taste of that. If I bring up the right clip, there we go.
Coming out here all the time. So.
Yeah, they know people come up here. There's kids that come in here all the time and do stuff. I think they've just kind of accepted that happens. Roof burned out. It used to be here just a couple years ago, apparently.
Oh, really?
But it burned out or something. But through the windows here, a lot of times you'll see like shadow people peeking in at you and stuff.
Probably from the cemetery.
Or around here. Kind of the, I guess, general consensus is that because people have fooled around trying to do different cultic practices here, that
we're not going to get any good photos with it.
No, you're not. But they may have, conjured something up here.
Yeah.
Like there's a little, and I can show it to you.
Should we go down in the basement?
Yeah. Well, let me show you something real quick.
Safe.
The basement's fine. Right here, we've people have found animal bones and stuff. The one night that we were here, we actually did.
TV.
That wasn't here before. That's new. But yeah, like people have done apparently, ritual stuff and sacrifices and stuff here.
Maybe we'll find a cow down here, or a body. That's interesting. Hope it's a mannequin. I'm joking. There's no bodies. Yeah, floor sagging. Look at that.
Mm-hmm.
So where did you see the crawler at?
There was she was standing here. There was a plastic bottle on the ground, which when she recites the tale, she says it's a can.
Awesome.
A plastic bottle.
Oh, okay.
So a couple comments during that clip. Brandon Wallace says, I always love to see clips of shadow people. Yeah, unfortunately, we didn't get any video footage of the crawler that was down there because we weren't running video that night that we were there. I have the audio of that in a couple of the videos on the Haunted Road Media channel. And also, if you go into our Campsville Grade School videos on the Haunted Road Media YouTube channel, you will see a shadow person walking in the gym. So that's a really compelling piece of footage that we actually caught that shadow person on film. It's also the same set of videos that has the apparition at the bottom of the stairs, another one where you can very clearly see her. So that's very compelling. So and also Brandon commented that's perfect stone slab for ritual work. It was like one of the first times that we were there. Again, it was at night, and back there on that stone slab, we had found like some charred bones, and there was you could see that the stone had been scorched. Now, it could have been, and this is what I kind of say, it could have been somebody doing ritual work. It could have been somebody just, burning their Kentucky Fried Chicken on there or whatever. We don't know what type of bone it was. We don't know what they were doing. We weren't there when whatever happened. However, there is the legend of that church that, again, after the parishioners had abandoned the church, that somebody came along, did some ritual work there, and conjured up the crawler that now inhabits the place. And so we have witnessed the crawler. That is true. Other people have witnessed these other shorter shadow people that I was talking about earlier that kind of peer in through the windows. People claim that they are minions of that crawler, but they won't actually come into the church. They just kind of linger about outside. People have also said that those same short shadow people, when they drive away, will sometimes chase after the car or scratch the cars or that sort of thing. I haven't experienced that either. But the crawler, yes, for sure. So, Rosella C. Rowe, Mike, do you plan on going back to this location again? I would love to. It's been years since I've been back there. It would have been before. I think that time with Ken right there was actually my last time that I was there. I think it was. It was before we did the stuff with the My Ghost Story filming because of the Ghosts and Legends of Oklahoma video, number 4, that would piss off the actual landowners that have the church on their land. So originally they were on board with us filming the episode there, and then because of the whole ritual work, occult stuff, they got ticked off. So, but I would love to go back. It's been many years now. It's stuff like that, going back and doing that, seeing what I could get now, what I'd be able to experience now, all these years later. Same thing with Stone Lion Inn. I was there, a few years ago for the Ghost Adventures filming, but I didn't actually investigate or anything. I was just being interviewed. So it's actually been about the same amount of time since I've investigated the Stone Lion Inn as well. So yeah, I'd like to get back to Oklahoma and do some of that stuff. So when I go back to Oklahoma now, it's like to see my son or whatever. So, which I'll be back out there soon whenever they figure out the date that he's going to graduate. I was supposed to be there this past weekend. His graduation date was the 15th, but it didn't happen. They've pushed it off to the summer. So, Victoria M. Wonder why they abandoned the church. Did something happen? So basically, it just it fell out of use. It was basically it was a church out in a cornfield. Really, people. It was there for the local community, the farmers that were in the area. It was built in the early 1900s, used until the late 1960s, early 1970s. People were driving more and able to travel a little bit further. So they would go up to the road to the town that was a little bit bigger that had a church there, and they would go and use that rather than this one, out in the middle of nowhere. So that's basically what happened. Is it just fell into disuse, really. So, all right. See if you guys have any other questions here. And all right. So, Betty Lang, did you get permission in the early days to go there? It's funny. I know I talk a lot about getting permission to go into places. No, did not. So the first time that I went out there was with Logan Corelli and Kathy Nance. Logan was showing Kathy and I the location. He had been out there several times before in his older groups that he had been a part of. Given the fact that it's literally out in the middle of nowhere. I am not kidding. And it was, you could tell it was frequented by kids like all the time. Every time we went there was something new that happened there. In fact, that time with Ken was the television. That hadn't been there before. Somebody else had just dumped the television. There was always new stuff going on in there. So people are always going there. It was kind of like, the teen hangout for the most part. He'd go party and all that. So no, we didn't get permission to go there. But again, when we first proposed the idea, hey, we want to do something on your old church, they were all excited about it, and they didn't care that we had been on there. It was just mentioning that pedestal being used for occult practices. That flipped them out. So, all right. So I'm going to move on to Fort Chaffee in Arkansas. This was a really, really cool place. It was the old field medical complex that was on there, which was basically it was his own self-contained environment. For those of you that watched either on my YouTube or on my Instagram, the Feeling the Afterlife story, this is that location. And it was not only a hospital, it had its own bowling alley, it had its own movie theater, there's a little jail in there. It was just its own little self-contained community, but it was primarily a field hospital. And it had all these long hallways that went in all these different directions. People have likened it to the game of Doom. And so, running down these corridors, and it was just a crazy maze. It was really cool to explore. So here's a couple of photos. It doesn't really give you, I don't think I actually included one of the hallway photos here, but a couple of the old buildings, it was abandoned when we went to go and investigate, of course. So you can see all these really cool old military buildings, and you'd go inside one of these. Now, see, these two buildings here, they're actually connected on the back side. There's a hallway that connects the backs of them. So you could come out the front here and use this road, but on the back side, there are these long hallways that actually connect all these buildings together. And then this is a walkway that goes to, if I recall correctly, this goes to the bowling alley. So, and I have a slew of pictures and video and all of that from this location. You can find the Paranormal Roads video, Fort Chaffee. It has a lot of exploration. And then, of course, the paranormal investigation. We were there for 2 full days. And, we were just scratching the surface. It was a really, really cool place to visit and investigate. And it's a real shame that it burned down. Now, there are some conspiracies about that. So the base didn't want it there anymore. However, it was a bit of a tourist attraction. There was a group that ran the investigations out of there, out of the old Cuban prison, and then they also did the tourism there for the Elvis Presley chairs, where Elvis got his haircut when he went into the military. And they had actually just gotten the old field medical complex registered, designated as a National Historic Landmark, and then all of a sudden, it was within 3 days, the thing went up in flames. They had wanted, from my understanding, from, again, conspiracies and all that, they had wanted to use the land to develop some sort of commercial center. It was right across the street from the country club that was there. So, want this eyesore across from the country club. We ended up there. I'll show you the photos here in a little bit, but we ended up there the day after it burned down because we were headed out for another investigation. But on this particular investigation, when we were doing all this, the road trip part that I want to show you has to do with the trip back. So when you're road tripping, you're doing all kind of that crazy stuff like I was talking about before, where you're stopping off at some memorable place for dinner, and you want to try to pick a local location, kind of get the taste of the food of the area. So there's some dives you end up in and all that stuff. But you get your snacks for the road and all that stuff. But then there are times where you get extra tired and you're driving home, trying to get to your next destination, whatever it is that you're doing, and you're trying to get that little extra done. Like, I didn't want to stop overnight somewhere. I wanted to just get home. You'll see in the video, I should not have been driving. My daughter is taking the video, and she's laughing at the way I am being at the time, because I am being goofy as hell. But you can also tell I'm extremely tired, and we shouldn't have continued to go, but we did. And so you're going to get a glimpse of this is Mike when he's super tired and very incoherent. Enjoy.
Tell I'm awake.
Barely.
It's 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yes.
Because I am able to drive this skinny crap. In any case.
You can't even talk.
I can't even
Okay,
talk.
and anyways.
Okay, 8 is not 3. Okay.
Okay.
Well, duh,
okay.
but-
Okay. My dad is tired. You can tell when he's tired, like when he's really tired, when he's making no sense. This is one at a time.
We were passing the Loves, okay? And so I was just, for whatever reason, I was suddenly about to say something about like there's 8 of them, but it wasn't that. It's 3, not 8. See, between let me explain. Between that, Loves, and Oklahoma City, there's like 3 more, but not 8. So Kathy's behind us.
Yes, oh, hey, she's close now.
Well, that's because we're going through the construction. We're all tired and trying to get to our places of sleepage. If you have a letter
Legos.
that you never pronounce, ever, why even have it? I mean, is it for looks, so that the word looks like it has more letters? Is it artwork? Do you like the way you write your H's? Because if you never pronounce it, there's no point to having the letter in the alphabet. I mean, when you say A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, do you go, I, J, K? Do you say A, B, C, D, E, F, G, I, J, K? Do you just skip it? Do you just like pause? Do you just like do sign language or something?
See, we got into this conversation.
I can do K.
We got into this conversation because we passed by a Mexican restaurant.
Ow.
Cramp?
Yeah, my hand just cramped up. Look. My hand cramped up. It's totally cramped. Holy crap. I can't move it. I did that making a K. It's stuck.
See, I have practices with my cake.
Oh my god.
That's gonna make it hurt.
Dang it.
Okay, but we got into...
Wow.
we got
Let's see if I
into...
can do that again. But we like their banana split coffee.
Yeah,
It's
cappuccino.
banana split-ish.
What? See, that's what I'm talking about. Just random stuff.
Split-ish.
Yeah, ish. Like, really?
Ish. Well, it's got the ish in it.
Okay, it doesn't matter. We all know that ish is cool, but you can't just use it with everything.
You're using the camera-ish. We've been on these paranormal roads so long that it is, we're gonna run into church traffic. Yeah.
You have code for a bear? See, it's stuff like this. You just don't understand.
Actually, I don't think I have code for a bear, but...
Tu loco la cabeza.
Loco like a pizza, yep. That's me.
Your ear looks plastic.
My ear looks plastic.
Yeah. Just in the camera shot, it looks plastic. Oh, in Sims Medieval, you can have pointy ears. Sure. For your, like, wizard person? Or you can make an elf blacksmith. Wizards don't have red ears?
Is it a wizard?
I think I hear. I'm pretty sure I heard you say red ears.
I think I did.
Wizards don't have red ears. Dad, turn.
I'm going straight on the road.
No, you were going dead straight. You weren't turning.
No, I was going straight through the turn.
Exactly. You have to turn the turn.
Right.
Walk the walk.
Through all of this, I have maintained the course on the road.
Okay, yes. Like Betty says there at the end, I was falling asleep. Yeah, I understand that. That's why I was saying I should not have been driving. At least like maybe the second half of that clip. Yeah, I think we ended the investigation like around 3 a.m. It's a 3-hour drive from there to where we lived on the other side of Oklahoma City. And I was determined to make it home. We should have stayed somewhere. Yeah, it was. I understand that. My daughter was doing a good job of keeping me up, but there were times you could see where I'm like, yeah, and I'm saying weird shit. I get that. So, but I don't usually drive at 4 a.m. or whatever. I usually cut it. What happens is once my eyes start to droop, that's it. I'm done. We're stopping. So, yeah. So a couple of things that came up in that. So Betty also asked, how old was your daughter? She was 16 at the time. She's 25 now. So this was filmed June 2011. So we're coming up on the 9-year mark of that. Also, Kathy Salenzo asked, Mike, is there a cemetery there anywhere on the property or thereabouts? So like down the road, is a cemetery. It's, I think it might technically be on the base. We didn't actually go to it, so I'm not for sure where it is. I just know that there's supposed to be one down the road. There is a reference to it in the Feeling the Afterlife short story, which is in the Campfire Tales Midwest book that I wrote. So, yeah, have been drinking tonight. Is somebody drinking down there? I'm not drinking. I actually have tea in this now. I had coffee earlier. And I'm a fun dad. Well, I try to be. I try to be fun. Yeah, and you guys are saying you're worried. Really, and honestly, I said it there in the video. That whole time, I stayed straight down the lane. In fact, at the very beginning, you see that we're in that construction zone, and it got pretty narrow, and I was straight the whole time. But no, I shouldn't have been driving. I get it. All right, so moving on from that. That was Fort Chaffee. Oh, I wanted to finish up with the one thing with Fort Chaffee. So yes, about a month and a half later, if I click on the right button here. So a month and a half later, we were there the day after it burned down. This is actually the day after it burned down. You can see the fire still going. Actually, what happened was the fire kicked back up when we went down there. So we were out to another investigation in Arkansas. This was on the way. We stopped off. We're actually in that parking lot of the country club that I was talking about. You can see what's there in the middle, that little structure. That's the stonework of a couple of those hallways that are connecting with each other. Of course, the hallways have all burned down. And then I snuck up on there and got some closer footage, and you just see these like little pedestals where some of the buildings had been on. You can see other remnants in the background between the trees, and it was just a real shame. It was a real shame that burned down. So the official excuse was that there were some people who trespassed and dropped a cigarette or whatever. It's like, I don't know about that. Guardian echoes. Nicole Guillaume, hey, good to see you down there. We all need to pitch in to get you a self-driving car. I would love that, actually. If you guys all want to pitch in to get me a self-driving car, that would be cool. They're a little pricey, though. But that would be pretty. Is that how Mike came up with his own coffee? So you heard in the video the banana split idiot. So in that area along that strip, that's I-40, and they had a couple of different Loves, which I don't stop at Loves anymore because I work for Travel Centers of America and their headquarters for their IT department. So so I don't partake in Loves anymore, but I used to back in the day, and they had a coffee flavor called Banana Split, and so when we would make that drive, I would stop off at one of those and get a banana split coffee. And so I was so freaking goofy in that video, I called it's banana split idiot. So here we go for Tim Schoen. Haunted Road Roast. It's banana split idiot. Not quite. Okay. Let's move on to another location. This one's been fun. So we're gonna. I had it up on that. I got to do it. I got to do it over because you guys didn't even see it. So, Haunted Road Roast. It's banana split idiot. There you go. I had it on that photo the whole time. Okay. So yeah, self-driving car. I like that idea. Thanks, guys. All right. In any case, we're gonna move on to Helltown. I got a couple clips of that. We'll go ahead and play it, and then I got some photos. We'll talk about Helltown because it was relatively local to me because it's when I just moved back to Ohio. I'm moving back to Ohio again, and it was about 45 minutes maybe from where I was living at the time. So I was way on the west side, like way to the west side, and Helltown is more east. Southeast Cleveland. We're talking Cleveland. Yeah, so Christopher Stanton goes down there. In any case, here we go. Yeah, that's Fort Chaffee again, but here we go.
So I'm inside the little train depot, and back in the day when this was actually a fully functioning town, there was some industry around here. Water's not drinkable. Check to see if it works. Can we actually pump some water out of here? We can. And no, that's not drinkable. That was brown. This is a different type of paranormal road. It's a walking trail. That is the old canal. We're going to see some locks here in a little bit. There's the old locks. That's where we're at right now. You can see where the old buildings had been and are now gone. But this is the lock system. You can actually walk the entire road to the Brandywine Visitor Center. It empties out into the parking lot there. So it no longer actually connects with another road. Now, the real reason why it's closed is because nobody wanted to pay the money to upkeep it. There's a lot of different legends and tales about its closure, but it came down to a money thing, really. Now see, off on the left here, road closed. Here's one of the houses. One of the old houses right there. That got taken. See, there's Helltown. Right there. Right by the road closed. And this was recent, people. Look, it's at a dish. So it's still going on. They're still taking properties. All in the name of turning it into a national park. Look, you see a little trash can back in there. Restricted area video surveillance is used on this property. Area closed. Okay. Fine, area closed, but still, this was somebody's home. There's somebody's garage. So, alright, well, they've warned us, so we won't actually walk up there. It's not like I'm not going to break in anyway, but that's it. Somebody's life was here. Somebody's home. Oh, I like the bullshit on this sign. We'll zoom in on it if I can. Yeah. Area closed. All National Park Service area beyond this point closed to public use and travel because of emergency conditions. Bullshit. No emergency. You just took it over because you can't.
All right. So again, to the podcast listeners later on, I apologize for any of the moments of silence in there, but we are doing this live on YouTube. So podcast listeners, join us live, youtube.com/edge of the rabbit hole or youtube.com/Haunted Road Media. All right. So question, Dave Stiles, where is Helltown? Chris Stanton, listeners and viewers later on. That is basically the epicenter is Boston Mills, Ohio. It's really that area there. And to answer Tammy Heisman's question, why did it close down? Basically, the government declared eminent domain. Their excuse was so that they could reclaim land for park usage. They said that basically there was too much commercialism and industry taking over, so they wanted to make sure that we had enough national park space. So instead of carving out a chunk of land somewhere and saying this is going to be the park, they actually, and this wasn't the only area, but this has kind of become the most famous, they just reclaimed the whole area, the town, kicked people out of their houses, businesses, all that stuff. It was really very sad. It became known as Helltown because in a very short period of time, so many houses became abandoned. The fire departments were allowed to come in and practice, do training by burning down some of the houses there. And so there were like burnt out remnants, there for a while. So it's really sad what happened to these people. So, the people that use the park now are kind of oblivious as to how it all came about. There's an older gentleman I just recently talked to, about a month ago now, and so he grew up right there on Stanford Road, and so when I go back out there, he and I are going to get together, and he's going to share a little bit more. We're talking for like hours this one particular night. So yeah, it's just a real tragedy what happened to there. With these people. And there's, of course, all kinds of crazy legends and stories. And so he kind of gave me the lowdown as to, kind of like what's true, what's not. So there's pieces, there's elements, of course, that are, but, much of it has been elaborated upon. So some other questions not related to Helltown that were thrown in there. Robert Hanna, Mike, will you do any future investigations out at Bachelor's Grove Cemetery? I'd love to do more around Bachelor's Grove. I was going to include some Bachelor's Grove stuff here with this particular presentation. You can see we're already 48 minutes into it. This is kind of run long. I didn't have time to add it to here anyway, and we're probably not going to get to the final couple things. But I would love to do more with Bachelor's Grove because I was out there with Tom and Nick, and Eric Klein was with us. And we were... It's not just a cemetery. You go down that old abandoned road, and that's why I wanted to include it with this. You go down that old abandoned road. You have to take that abandoned road to get back to the cemetery, but you keep going on. The bridge is down, but you can, it's easy to cross the little creek on your own, and it keeps going off into the woods. There's this old road that's been, taken up by all the vegetation and everything. And we were able to find, some of the old foundations to houses, and there was the cistern that was there, and so it was a pretty cool location. We really enjoyed it, and so we'd like to do more there. It was just starting to get dark. Roselle C. Rowe, how did the coffee come about? I always wanted to have my own coffee. That's kind of what it comes down to. I had been looking up ways online to be able to do it, and it was always going to be very expensive, and I have to buy like 500 pieces at a time and all that sort of stuff. I came across Deadly Grounds at a conference that I did in New York a few years ago, and I asked Tom, who runs Deadly Grounds, hey, are you able to do a custom roast, for me? And I guess they had already done one for the guy that played Eddie Munster when he was a kid. And so he's like, yeah, we can do that for you. And so we've been doing it ever since. So there you go. That's the coffee story. All right. As far as that house, okay, that at the end of that clip, went back there. What was it, 4 or 5 months later? Because that was shot in September. Went back there in February. That house was already gone, and the land was made to look like it had never existed. Like even like where the driveway was and all that, just like gone. They didn't leave the driveway. They just they plowed that whole thing under. Where, because you got the little drainage ditch that goes across the front of the property, where the driveway had come across that. Yeah, they dug that out, so it looked like there's nothing. Now when I was back there, would have been this past summer, I was driving through and stopped off at Helltown. My return, there's another video out of Haunted Road Media for that. So all this stuff is on the Haunted Road Media channel. They had a bunch of trees in like pots. They were going to plant a bunch of trees right there in that area, so it would really look like nothing was ever there. So kind of crazy. And yes, thank you, Quarantine Goes. You can purchase your Haunted Road Roast at hauntedroadmedia.com/merch. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. All right, so we're going to do one more because we're getting to the end here. And that is my most recent excursion, which, now it's been since November, and we're in the middle of May right now. It's crazy. Chaco Canyon. So let me show you the clips here. Watching the podcast.
Here we are at Pueblo Bonito in Chaco Canyon. This is a bucket list item for me. I'm absolutely ecstatic to be here. Now, these sites here, and this is, one of the oldest, one of the largest, going back to 850 AD. One of the great kivas is here. We'll go check that out in a little bit. But this was a spiritual center for the Anasazi, which were known as the Ancient Ones, which are believed to be the descendants of the Hopi. And while these sites here date back to 850 AD, that culture goes back even further. We really don't know where they began. This very, very mysterious culture. We don't know why they came here and built these out in the middle of nowhere, and we don't even know why they left. So many mysteries still going on as to what exactly they were used for. Of course, believe they were used as a spiritual center. It's aligned to the stars, so that tells you a lot right there.
So yeah, like Tim Schoen says, this was on my bucket list for a long, long time. So this past November, Haunted Road Media was an award winner at the Shockfest Film Festival for best in paranormal media. I should have grabbed it. The trophy sitting over there. So I drove out there. I saw my kids on the way back in Oklahoma, or at least a couple of them. But I drove out there because, well, for one, I got all the books and everything. It's kind of pricey to drag all that stuff onto the plane. But also because I wanted to hit Chaco Canyon. And she was down there earlier, Guiding Echoes, Nicole Guillaume. So she actually helped out with my table. So I got to meet Nicole. So go check out her channel too. She has some really cool stuff. Especially if you guys like tarot. She's been doing the pick-a-card stuff. Really, really cool. In any case, so on the way back is when I hit Chaco Canyon. It was a big-time bucket list item of mine. I didn't really get into it with Freddie Silva earlier this evening, but in his book, I already brought it inside. The missing lands. He does get into the star people. He does talk about Chaco Canyon. He talks about the Hopi and the Anasazi and all of that. And so that's what all this is tied into. And so I absolutely loved being out there. You see, I mean, these are ancient ruins in America. We don't have a whole lot. We have a lot of the mound structures and what have you, like throughout Ohio. Cahokia Mound was mentioned in the chat. I didn't get a chance to ask the question during Edge of the Rabbit Hole. So we get to see the mounds, but as far as like ancient stone structures like this, we really don't have a whole lot. But this is one location in America where we actually do. And so this was really fantastic. I was so happy when I got there. I was like, I love this day. If you saw, some of the videos that I was posting from there. And so, here's one of the Kivas. I have that whole video out there on the Haunted Road Media channel on this. And I do get into some of the ancient alien stuff, of course, because there are those assertions as to what all of this actually was. And it was aligned to the stars. Now, this is kind of interesting. You don't get the sense of it by looking at this. But the top of that is actually like about waist high for me. You have to crawl to get in there. And there's some people that try to say, well, the people are really small. And I'm like, no, it wasn't the people. Because of the particular room that's back there, I think they built this so that you purposely had to crawl, that you had to get down, on your knees, kind of like in reverence to get in there. So, there's a lot of theories. People speculate, but they don't know for sure exactly what happened here. So anytime, whether it's, the mainstream archaeology or if it's an ancient alien guys or whoever it is, anything that has to do with this site is a lot of speculation. So, but I absolutely loved being out there. And so it's, it's more stuff like this that, I want to do. I want to get into, go to those types of locations. Because, it's, even though it's not a haunted house, there's definitely spiritual energy that's there. There's definitely some supernatural activity going on there. Could it be haunted? It could. It very well could be haunted. That, especially a place like that, when we get into topics like stone tape theory and what have you, could some of that energy be trapped into the stone, into the material that's around there? Very well. Of course, there's people that believe it was a spaceport. So even then, would that energy be trapped in there? That is certainly a possibility. So, Tom McNicholas has been to ruins in Arizona like those. Yeah, there's that. It's the same type of culture. So, like with Arizona, there would be the Hopi. Well, the Anasazi are supposed to be the ancestors of the Hopi. Again, that's kind of the belief. They don't know for sure, but it's kind of the general consensus right now. And we could always be wrong, but the general consensus is that the Hopi came out of the Anasazi. So, I saw Sharon Lane say, Haunted Road Media, coffee, chocolate, and wine. So, yeah, we have the coffee. I know Tim Shone has suggested the chocolate before, and it's doable except for, like, taking it to conventions during the summer. It'll melt, but we could conceivably do that. It'll ship, right? The wine varies. Laws vary from state to state, and for me to sell it, if I sell over a certain amount, then I have to get a license to do that. I do make my own wine. It's kind of why I'm talking about that. So, all right. Let's see if you guys have any last questions. Betty Lange, did that place feel like a walk back in time? Chaco Canyon. Yeah, absolutely. You got to touch something that was built, over 1,000 years ago. And, I haven't been overseas yet, like, I don't know, Rome or, wherever, to be able to touch some of those old and ancient buildings like that. I've only been in the U.S. so far, Canada, the Caribbean. But so that is the oldest thing that I've been able to get my hands on was that. And so that was really, really cool to be able to just, and they let you walk right through there. I mean, there's some areas that are roped off. They don't want you, climbing on or getting into or what have you, but most of it is really, really accessible. And you can, walk right up there. You can touch the walls, and it's like, wow, this is really freaking cool. So you definitely feel the energy in a site like that. It was absolutely amazing, and I cannot wait to go back. So, all right. Mike's moonshine. No, it's not. It's not moonshine. It's actually legit wine. So, yeah, I don't really drink moonshine, actually. See if you guys have anything else, and we can start to wrap it up because we are at our hour mark. The other one that I had, and like I said, I didn't have, and I'll just say this real quick, I didn't have a lot of time to line up much more than beyond this. Fairy Plantation, which was that's Encounters with the Paranormal Volume 4. That's the highlighted area for that. Because it is, from where I've been located, it is a bit of a hike to get out there because it's Virginia Beach. But there's so many other places that, I haven't been able to talk about that are road trips. Like I was going to throw, old South Pittsburgh Hospital was going to go in there, and because Hellsbar Dam was on that road trip as well, and just so many of these places where you hit multiple ones all at the same time. Those are a lot of fun. So this one is it's off to I grabbed the wrong photo, but it's off to the left over there. This is where they had the wake set up in the best parlor, and I was actually started really tuning into what was going on there and the one woman that was inhabiting the room. It was kind of one of my more, of course, I don't ever claim to be anything, but one of my more psychic moments, I guess, happened in there. So it's a very, very cool location. And so that's kind of what this was about, was me, reminiscing, kind of heading out to some of these different haunted locations like that, and showing people that are a little bit, newer to Haunted Road Media, some of the old clips from back in the day, because I know a lot of you probably haven't gone back. I mean, we have like almost 800 videos out there on the Haunted Road Media channel. You probably haven't gone back to, the first couple. So there we go. All right. Anything else? And yeah, I should make Haunted Road wine. There we go. Yeah. Haunted Road Media popcorn. That's a new one. Chocolate moonshine. Okay. That's funny. So, all right. All right, everybody, let's go ahead and get to the shout outs. Really appreciate everybody joining us tonight. I hope you enjoyed the clips. It was a lot of fun for me to kind of walk down some of these old memories and, see the old crew and the old locations and grainy video and all that stuff. So, yeah. And, in having my daughter in it, she was involved for, I don't know, like maybe a year. So, and that was probably about it. So she had an interest. So, all right. So I want to thank Quarantine Ghost for moderating the chat. Absolutely appreciate that. Let's get to the Patreon patrons. We have, these are deep down the rabbit hole Patreon patrons, so this is our top tier. Tom McNicholas, B3 Aerospace, Pamela Queen, Joe Chandler, Andrew Cox, Dustin Samario, and David Yeisley. Thank you all very, very much. Absolutely appreciate it all. Let's get to the participants tab. So we want to thank Kathy Salento, Chipper Terry, Christopher Stanton. Thank you for joining us tonight. There's Dave Stiles in the house. Debbie 08. Thank you as well. There's Alina the Fam. Good to see you, Alina. Grand old folks, that's Betty Lange. There's Greg Rankin. Guiding Echoes, that's Nicole Key. Oh, go check out her channel, Guiding Echoes. Great stuff out there. Helen Espinoza, Katie Palmer, thank you very much. Nick Moulet, thanks for joining us again. Rick Gabbert and Robert Hanna, thank you both very much. Rosella C. Rowe, thank you as well. There's Sharon Lane and Terry Heitzman. Thank you very much. Tim Schoen, I already got you on the Haunted Road Roast, so you're taken care of there. Tom McNicholas, Victoria Monday. All right. So thank you all very much for always being supportive and joining us this evening. So next week, we have Amelia Cotter returning to Edge of the Rabbit Hole. We're going to be highlighting her new book, This House. Actually, it's not new, but her 10th anniversary edition of This House. So this year marks 10 years that it's been out. She published the 10-year anniversary edition with us. We're very happy to have that out for her. So we're going to be talking about that and all the other great and wonderful things that she has been up to. So, all right, everybody, you have a great night. Enjoy the rest of the week. Be safe. Till next time.